What's going on, you guys? Slim here today with a new video, and I'm here to bring you guys what I feel are the best competitive Yu-Gi-Oh decks of the current format. If you guys are new here, consider subscribing, hit that notification bell. You guys will be notified whenever I upload. You'll also be notified when I stream over on Twitch. The links are in the description. As always, if you want to purchase any cards that you see here, any of the cards that you need to complete your decks, consider using my TCG player link in the description below. A portion of what you spend goes back to the channel. It helps me out, and I really do appreciate it. And last but not least, if you guys want to further support me on Patreon, the link is in the description. I've added a new $1 tier for anyone who is just an OG fan or a new fan that just wants to support the channel. All the links are in the description. Like I said, I have 4 tiers now, nothing over $10, and you guys get some awesome rewards depending on what level you join. But without further ado, let's get into it. So I thought about this. I was like, should I rank the decks? And you know what? I don't care. Like, I'll literally just say it flat out. For the first deck, we have Dragon Link. It is probably arguably the best deck of the format. Now, while instead of giving a ranking system, a lot of players will argue that yes, Dragon Link is the best deck, whereas other players will argue that no, Dragon Link is not the best deck. So for this video today, I decided to showcase the list from Luxury's LCS 6. I felt that that would give it a different feel compared to me just maybe doing a video just showing a picture of like a card to represent the deck. I want you guys to actually see that these are what the decks look like that are doing well in this format. Dragon Link is insane. This list is the one that got second. Now everyone is saying he lost because he did misplay. Now that's neither here nor there. I really don't care, and I'm not going to point fingers at any player for making a misplay if under stress or anything like that or under pressure. There is no denying how powerful this deck is. The board that it puts out is just absolutely insane. At its absolute worst, it can put out a Herald and a Borreload Savage Dragon. It can also play through 3 or 4 hand traps. There is no denying that any deck in Yu-Gi-Oh that can do that is one of the best decks of the format. I think Dragon Link is arguably one of the most represented as well as one of the best decks of this format for these reasons and many more. I mean, the boards they put up are insane. The fact that they can do a lot of 1-card combos or 2-card combos consistently is crazy. Cards like Chaos Space, cards like the Guard Dragon spell, like all of those cards make this deck insane, and I think we're definitely going to continue to see this deck do well until they do something about Guard Dragon LP. If you look at how the deck is structured, once you take away the Guard Dragons, it does lose a lot of its advantage. It's also a Halki Fibrax deck, which most of these decks are, so it's pretty crazy. I think it's definitely one of the best decks of the format, and I think you guys should definitely not sleep on this. We know this by now based on the data, the representation, just the overall brute force of this deck. This is probably the best deck of the format, if not easily in the top 3, top 5, whatever you guys want to call it. But without a doubt, Dragon Link is one of the best decks of the format, so you need to be prepared to expect to play against this deck a lot online as well as in remote duels. People do have this deck built in real life, so definitely be prepared for that. The next deck I have is my personal favorite. It's Invoke Dogmatica. Now, like I said, I'm not going to put these in any ranking order because I could make an argument that I think Dogmatica is the best deck of the format because it won LCS 6, and you guys can make the counter argument that it's not. Now, like again, I said that's neither here nor there. Personally, this is just one of my favorite decks because of its simplicity. This deck is very simple. As you guys can see, I have my boy Zach Stone's list here to represent Dogmatica because he won the whole LCS 6. His list is unique. A lot of players didn't agree with his choices, but let me tell you guys, to go that far in a tournament and to do that well, regardless of any other situations, you know that the deck is really good. If you've tested it like I have, you guys will see. If you've played Invoke Dogmatica before, you will see the differences, like playing 3 Potted Desires, playing 3 copies of Tactical Talents, like playing cards like that, playing 3 Punishment. You really will see how powerful these cards are in the deck and why it gives you such a simple game plan of making a Makaba, possibly making a Wind on your opponent's turn, setting up a punishment, and then guess what? They can't play. A lot of combo decks cannot answer Wind and Makaba as well as a potential hand trap or anything else. So for that reason, I think this is easily one of the best decks of the format. There's no denying it. Okay, it's not perfect. It's not a super aggressive deck. It's a very simple 1-2 punch deck, and I think that's the thing that I really like about it. It's its simplicity. It's not trying to overcomplicate any of the plays. It's just trying to do the same thing each and every game. And one thing I forgot to mention with Dragon Link as well as this deck is both of these decks are able to play going first or going second. How well they do going second is really up to how it's built, but I'll tell you right now, I've seen these decks both play going first and going second and play through a bunch of hand traps, so I think these are arguably some of the best decks of the format. Another thing I just really like, I love the Invoked engine. I'm biased, I'll be honest. I absolutely love Alistair and Friends. I think that it's just a crazy engine, and I think we're going to see a lot more players pick this deck up, especially because of Zach's success and many other players' success with this deck. So don't sleep on Invoke Dogmatica. Whether you play Maximus in the main deck or not is completely up to you. He chose to play it, and he was able to get through and win the whole tournament with it, so that's something you guys can definitely take away. But I would not sleep on Invoke Dogmatica at all this format. For the next deck, I got Infernoble Knight, so I'm gonna be honest with you. Getting my hand ripped sucks. It sucks, and I gotta give my hats off to this deck. I gotta shout out my boy Pack. Him and Shuping are easily two of the best channels to watch for Infernoble stuff. I literally don't own the deck or have never played the deck, but I've learned how to play against the deck because of them. They really showcase a lot of the great combos. They really showcase how powerful the deck is, and I'm not gonna lie to you, getting hit by Smoke Grenade, getting hit by Omega, getting hit by anything else, and losing my hand really sucks. It's the one deck that literally says it doesn't matter if you side in cards like Dark Ruler or more hand traps, I can just rip them out of your hand. Like, I don't know if you guys saw Shuping's list. I'm not featuring his list, but the other list that I do have up here, you guys can see. This is also by the same player who got second place with what is it? Monolith, so it's absolutely crazy. I really like his list. I like his approach. I also like Shuping's list. He played crazy cards like Drag Down in exchange to manipulate your hand. I'm telling you, when a deck can do that and then capitalize and take more cards out of your hand, it's a very powerful deck. This deck literally shows why Isolde is still to this day such a broken link, and I think that we're definitely going to see more players having to adapt their strategy to play around this deck. Like, when you have to manipulate your deck to play around a deck like this that literally rips your hand apart, you know it's easily one of the best decks of the format. Now, I've heard that it does get hurt by hand traps. I've heard it can get hurt in other ways, but I think that the deck is still very strong. And if you're a skilled player like Shuping, like Pack, like Lun, like any of these players that, you know, their deck lists I'm featuring or talking about, that you definitely can go far with this deck. A lot of really good players are picking up this deck, so that says a lot. It's a wombo combo deck, and what I've heard from Pack mostly is that once you learn to play this deck, it's very rewarding. It's a hard deck to play, but once you learn to play it, it's a very rewarding deck. So for all those reasons, I had to put Infernoble Knight on here. Its representation is starting to go up a little more, which is nice. Like I said, we want to see a diverse format, and even if it's like a 5-deck format, we still want to see it. Next, I've got Dinos. Shout out to my roommate Gio, my old roommate Gio. He already knows. We were talking about this last night. I really can't deny how powerful this deck is. Now, like I said, there's no ranking system because I personally believe Dinos are just so strong. Like, I can make the argument Dino might be the best deck on here because it just does not care. Ultimate Conductor does not care. He comes through and he just mollywops through the entire board. Like, it's crazy. I think a lot of people need to realize how powerful Dinos are. They have Rotas that are not once per turn. They have Ultimate Conductor, which just goes burr, and there's your field gone. They can play going first. They can play going second. They can play True King of all calamities. This build that you see here from the top 4 is a strictly going second listed. Look how powerful it is. It's absolutely crazy. He's also playing the barrier statue thing with the Gizmek, which is a crazy combo. It literally shuts down the combo decks they can't play when you summon that barrier statue. I think Dinos have really evolved and really gone far since, you know, the last like several formats, and they've been doing well, and they just, you know, they're starting to get more and more attention, and for good reason. This deck is terrifying. Like, you go second, like, it's just crazy. It's one of the reasons why you have to side deck cards like Artifact Lancia. Call by the Grave going to 1 gave this deck an even bigger boost because the best card in their deck, Miscellaneous Source, is at 3, and with less Call by the Grave, you can't banish it and shut down their plays. Their Miscellaneous Source, to me, is almost like a Needle Fiber play. You banish it and you get to summon a card from the deck. That's absolutely insane, in addition to everything else this deck does. It's highly consistent. It's very powerful. It can play Pot of Extrav, and I think we're definitely going to see more of this deck in the future. Easily one of the best decks of the format. Be prepared for Dinos. If not, they're literally going to Raffle Stomp you into the ground. You're going to feel Ultimate Conductor just body your whole board, and I can tell you guys right now, it's not a fun time. But shout out to all the Dino players. It's your time. This deck is insane. Not gonna lie, I have to give credit where it's always due. And last but not least, I have Eldritch. So the list I got in front of you is the only one that was in the top cut. I decided to use the top cut list. But I'm gonna be honest with you, I mean, this is like the kitchen sink. This is everything in the kitchen sink. I know Simo and some other channels have talked about this. This deck is insane. Like, shout out to this player because I mean, what am I looking at? I'm looking at the fact that Eldritch is such a strong engine and that you can just splash everything around it and still just make everything work for Eldritch. Now, while Eldritch only had this one list in top cut, there is no denying that there are a lot of other builds. You can play Dogmatica Eldritch, which I have a list coming up from my brother who ended up going undefeated at locals with. There's players who are playing still Numeron Eldritch. There's a lot you can do with Eldritch. I think right now, next to Invoked, it's one of the most splashable, if not the most splashable engines in the game, and I think the deck is insane. I think there's a lot that can be done with this deck, and I think the more that players pay attention to it, the more it's going to do. Its traps are insane. Golden Boy is is still insane, and we're definitely going to see more players having to adapt their decks, like playing cards like Ice Dragon's Prison to shut down Golden Lord is crazy. The fact that you have to dedicate cards to your main deck and or side deck just to deal with Golden Boy says a lot. So we definitely are going to see more of this in the future. Even though this deck may not be the full representation of Eldritch, there's no denying Eldritch in some form. There's many versions you can play. You can even play the stun build. There's so many builds of Eldritch. We're definitely going to see that in the format. And as a bonus for you guys, before I end the video, I want to give a shout out to the rogue players. I've got the Guru deck here from one of our best Guru players. Shout out to Christian Forsman. Like, literally, he is like one of our Guru gods in the Subterra group over on Facebook. He is one of the most consistent and best players, and I love his list. I love his explanations he had in live deck profiles he did. Don't sleep on rogue decks. Guru will represent the rogue decks for now. This deck is crazy. The fact that it can play Dragoon. Now, I don't know if you guys noticed something. I didn't mention Dragoon by itself because Dragoon didn't do that well this tournament. However, he did make the top cut. He did make top 16. He went undefeated this tournament. I don't know if people will realize that. Guru went undefeated in this tournament with Dragoon. That's crazy. Don't sleep on rogue decks. They're crazy. I'm a huge fan of Subterra, and I think that the deck is going to do more as the format progresses. It doesn't matter that Harpy's Feather Duster is back. We have plenty of ways to stop it. I think we're going to see more decks, more trap decks try to come out and do more things because I think they're just not getting enough representation. But once representation goes up, you definitely do not want to sleep on these decks, and your side deck and main deck better be prepared to go against them, or you're just going to absolutely get destroyed game one. So that's everything I got to say, you guys. I hope you guys really did enjoy. If you did, be sure to smash that like button. You guys have been killing it lately with the analytics, and I really do appreciate all your guys' support. If you have any questions, if you have anything to add, any decks I missed, definitely leave it in the comments below. What deck are you currently playing this format? Anyone who's asking me, I got a lot of decks actually. Like right now, like I've got, the pure Mech Knights, I've got the Invoke Dogmatica. I got a lot of decks to play, but I definitely think that if there was a tournament, I'd have to pick one. I'd probably go with Invoke Dogmatica, but to be honest, I don't know. I really love Mech Knights. But like I said, don't sleep on rogue decks. Pay attention to these top decks in the format, and I think we're gonna have a pretty crazy format until we get our list. I think it's sometime in December. So keep your eyes peeled. We're gonna see a lot of things happen. We might see some change when new sets drop, but these are my thoughts, and I'd love to know yours in the comments below. Let me know what deck you're playing, and let me know anything you'd like to see in the future. Again, shout out to all my patrons, and thank you guys for watching.